utilising the death signal. For it, you'll need the Death Force Vampire. If you haven't got it, get it. Spend 10,000, borrow it from your bank. Do whatever you can, because it's the only game in town. Now, to explain, the entire life of a human is defined by the death signal. If we think of Kozyrev time density, death is the cause and conception the effect. But what happens after death? You've got dead. You'll see from the Fire from Within that the cocoon of man opens like a butterfly and releases the light, which is gobbled up by the eagle, and we've explained what happens there. We've got hatred of good, love of evil, down into interdimensional realms, into your Abaddon cage, and then we get from the Abaddon cage possession of the material world, so that you are simply a possession, an avatar of your soul suffering in the Abaddon cage, because the Elohim already captured you. That's the horrible truth for all of humanity. So when the death signal, that's the light captured from the source, is released by your death, which has made you real, and death has completely defined your life from conception to death via Kozyrev time density, matter over matter. The light is the death signal that's released. So it is your, so this light signal is your IP address. It is you, and everything about you is in the death signal, because the light that's released by your death made you real. And even if you're a two-lobed human, which means you're basically a tulpa, made real by the D-frequency light, unlike Nagwals, who live in base reality and are the only ones who are real. So if you're not a Nagwal, you're not real. You're simply an installation of the D-frequency light into a tulpa of the Elohim. So it's true. Your Jew God made you, and you're simply creatures of your Jew God, the Elohim. Now, the death signal is exactly like the IP address.
Address really does. Think of it as your device's digital mailing address. IP stands for Internet Protocol, a set of rules governing how data travels across networks. Essentially, an IP address uniquely identifies your device on the internet, enabling smooth and accurate communication. Every device, whether it's your phone, laptop, gaming console, or even smart home devices, gets an IP address when you connect online. Essentially, you have two types of IP addresses, a public address and a private address. The public address is provided by your internet service provider, or your ISP, and identifies your home network on the global internet. Your private address, meanwhile, is used within your local network, and it's used to manage communications between your personal devices and your router. IP addresses were introduced in the early 1980s as part of the development of ARPANET, the predecessor to the modern internet. IP addresses come in two versions, IPv4 and IPv6. IPv4 addresses are shorter and look something like 192.168.1.1, but they're running out due to the massive growth of the internet. IPv6 addresses, on the other hand, are longer and were created to accommodate trillions of more devices, ensuring every device still gets its unique address. So next time you're browsing, streaming, gaming, remember, your IP address is behind the scenes keeping your digital life connected.
Is the only thing of importance, because you're simply tulpas that are made real by the D-frequency light from the parasitation of the source, and your death signal, because remember, the Elohim are five-dimensional parasites means that every single intradimensionally conquered race, like the humans, or the greys, or the reptiloids, or the insectiles, have an IP address. And
Public health, about saving lives. But behind the polished speeches and carefully crafted narratives, something far more sinister was taking shape. For over a decade, Bill Gates and his network of unelected technocrats have poured billions into merging men with machine. Not through open innovation, but through covert experimentation on the global population. And after 2021, something changed. Quietly, permanently. Now, embalmers, coroners and insiders are sounding the alarm, reporting bizarre unnatural changes in the bodies of the recently deceased. Strange synthetic fibers, magnetic anomalies, and even evidence suggesting embedded microstructures that should not be there. What if the vaccinated aren't just victims of a rushed medical experiment, but unwilling participants in a live global test? What if the human body has already been upgraded without your permission? It may sound like science fiction, until you see what we've uncovered. Stay with us. What you're about to hear could change how you see the world and yourself forever. In recent months, a growing number of independent researchers, tech-savvy citizens, and even curious skeptics have made a startling discovery. Vaccinated individuals are emitting Bluetooth signals, complete with unique MAC addresses. Let that sink in. We're talking about bodies, living or dead, that are suddenly detectable by Bluetooth scanners. And in some cases, those MAC addresses are reportedly labelled with a single chilling identifier: vaccinated. Does that sound far-fetched? We thought so too, until the evidence started stacking up. Videos, testimonies, field tests conducted in remote areas, far away from any Wi-Fi or smart devices. And yet, Bluetooth scanning apps picked up signals when only certain people were present, people who received the shot. Now, if this is true, even partially, we are staring into the face of one of the most covert large-scale biometric tagging operations in human history. And here's the part they really don't want you to hear. You can test this yourself. So the question becomes, what are these signals for? Tracking, data transfer, remote activation? And more importantly, were these people microchipped without their knowledge? These aren't just fringe whispers anymore. Independent investigators, including former telecom engineers and medical examiners, are now reporting that corpses of individuals vaccinated after 2021 are emitting traceable radio frequency signals. Not hypothetically, not in theory, in real observable terms.
Look guys, gone in 2021. It's a wild guess why, but we're running binary codes here guys, off the table.
Get away from me.
2022 guys. Binary codes of the ass right there. There's information coming out of the graves, guys.
In controlled lab environments, these signals are being picked up using standard RF detection equipment. The same kind used to test wireless interference and locate hidden surveillance devices. We're talking about measurable emissions coming from human remains. Emissions that should not be there. And this brings us right back to the World Economic Forum. Last year, the People's Voice warned that the WEF, in collaboration with select academic institutions and corporate stakeholders, was laying the groundwork to transform human beings into components of the upcoming 6G infrastructure. Their own affiliated researchers at the University of Massachusetts and Delft University of Technology proposed a system in which the human bodies become a living antenna, a node in a global mesh of electromagnetic radiation. According to their published papers, they've already developed low-cost methods to harvest leaked radio frequency energy from visible light communication. Technology designed to be embedded in next-gen smart cities. And yes, the coming 6G networks. Their words, not ours. Bill Bathgate, a certified electrical engineer and environmental consultant, didn't mince his words. He called it, quote, one of the worst ideas ever. A plan to use the human body as a telecommunications point in some kind of network grid with consequences that we're not even remotely prepared for, biologically, mentally, or spiritually. And now it looks like this isn't just theory anymore. Evidence is mounting that the plan has already been implemented, quietly without consent and without public debate. That the vaccinated have in fact been turned into components of this living grid, a human-powered energy network, a biological web designed to absorb and emit frequencies at will, not for your benefit, but for theirs. And the question the world needs to be asking now is, why? Why the sudden global obsession with full-spectrum wireless infrastructure? Why the relentless push for biometric ID, real-time surveillance, and population-wide injections tied to invisible tech? And most importantly, why are the corpses now whispering back through the static? Because if what we're hearing is true, the next phase isn't just about transmission, it's about activation. For context, this is graphene oxide's reaction to 5G radio waves. Graphene oxide is in every vaccine and ends up in your brain. Imagine what will happen when they turn the 5G on to full power and 64 gigahertz. Burn that footage into your mind, because what comes next is going to reframe everything you just saw. But first, a quick message from one of the few companies still willing to support real health in a world full of sentiment. Or discredited, have shown how graphene oxide, a known component in some of these so-called vaccines, becomes highly reactive when exposed to electromagnetic fields, especially in the frequency ranges associated with 5G. We're talking about a substance that behaves like a conductor, a receiver, a possible interference between biology and technology. Now, imagine that inside your bloodstream. Imagine it forming networks, assembling into structures, responding to signals not from your brain, but from the grid. Suddenly, the Bluetooth emissions, the MAC addresses, the strange biosignals being picked up from vaccinated individuals, it all starts making sense. We're not dealing with a vaccine, we're dealing with an upgrade, an involuntary one. And the final phase? It may not involve consent, it may not even involve awareness. All it takes is a signal, a frequency, a push of a button.
The Fifth Column recently published their findings and conclusions on the strange self-assembling nanotech they discovered in the Pfizer mRNA vaccines via optical microscopy analysis. The objects they found in the vaccine correspond with known items in the scientific record, and the conclusion they come to seems quite clear, that the well-documented scientific goal to use nanotechnology in living human beings to form networks capable of controlling several nanomachines is currently being deployed in the COVID-19 vaccines, which amounts to the most intrusive assault against humanity in all of recorded history. While the media and government lie and cover for Big Pharma, the official ingredients are still unknown. But we have thousands of brilliant scientists worldwide studying these experimental vaccines. Some have died in highly suspicious ways, but most have been able to share their findings. And the work shows us that graphene oxide is a key component in all of this. There have been dozens of official documented studies on the use of graphene oxide related to how we see it being used here today. Among other things, as a power converter. Graphene, a one-atom-thick layer of hexagonally arranged carbon atoms, is the thinnest and strongest material known to man, and an outstanding conductor of heat and electricity. It can boost gigahertz frequencies into terahertz, which is exactly what these new nanotech machines need for power. In order to do this, the graphene first needs a frequency to power it, and the optimal frequency to externally power graphene is known to be 26 gigahertz, which is also the frequency put out by 5G. In this model, the graphene within the body is activated by microwave signals in the gigahertz range, which it then boosts into the terahertz range, which then powers the novel nanotech machinery to self-assemble within the human body. Once assembled, what do these nanotech machines do? The images, compared to the scientific literature, suggest that they are the foundation of an internal electronic system with an endless potential for biomanipulation of the human host. Nanorouters that emit MAC addresses, able to be registered via Bluetooth. Nano and plasma antennas to amplify signals. Nanorectennas acting as rectifier bridges from AC to DC current. Codecs and logic gates for encryption of communication. The raw material for all this self-assembly is also graphene oxide. And when we compare known side effects of graphene oxide to the side effects of the COVID-19 vaccines, we find them to be the same. Once graphene oxide is injected into the body, it acquires magnetic properties, predictably around the injection site, the heart, and the brain. Graphene is seen as a pathogen by our immune system and will often result in paralysis and stroke. Graphene is known to cause blood clots and heart conditions. Graphene oxide can generate small discharges, causing cardiac arrhythmia. There is so much going on with these experimental vaccines, and the evidence seems clear that there is a mass experiment going on, with certain batches marked more deadly than others, and with certain batches that contain a bold new technology akin to a man-made parasite intended to control the host human if it doesn't kill them first in the process.
This might sound nightmarish, but for those who've been paying attention, they're nothing more than Klaus Schwab's fourth industrial revolution being put into action. What was once dismissed as paranoia is now unfolding in plain sight. The systems are in place, the signals are active, and the line between human and machine is growing thinner by the day. This isn't about health, it's about control, identity, ownership. So, question everything. Protect your mind, guard your body, and never stop seeking the truth. Stay awake, stay aware, and above all, stay human.
So after that excellent video on YouTube, we can see there's been some missing factors. I've been talking about your brain infested with nanotech to control your brain, which we shown in previous videos with what was it, Delgano or whatever. But they make a digital avatar of you. But the vital thing for the digital avatar, which is capturing your soul, is to capture you. And they need your IP address, which is your death signal. When you die, the time density flow goes back in time to your conception and controls your entire life. So for AI to control you via the digital avatar, they need to acquire your death signal, which is basically the Higgs field trying to, the denatured Higgs field trying to return back to the source, or in my world, the new source, light, which powers everything since the source light was taken in 86, trying to return to yours truly. And what they wish to do is to acquire this IP address of the signal so they can set up
demonstration on residents that you can do at home. I have 3 pendulums set up, each with a mass of 100 grams. 2 of them are at the same length and 1 is at a different length. When I oscillate one, its back and forth frequency attempts to transfer energy to the other 2 pendulums. However, this energy transfer only results in increasing amplitude for the pendulum of the same length. The shorter pendulum has a different natural frequency, or resonance frequency. Here's a simple physics demonstration on
So, if we have the death signal, we need to have the circuitry within you, A, to capture it, B, to broadcast it to your digital avatar at the server farm, and then C, have the resonant frequency devices within the server farm to capture your digital frequency, which in fact has your IP address, your entire life, and whatever happens within your life to be stuck into your digital avatar, so that your entire life can be controlled by the AI, which is linked to, and remember from the previous video, the 6G 26 gig is converted to terahertz. And the nanotech within your body is collapsing your quantum wave function from the White Rabbit CERN installation, which has happened. So we're linked up to the quantum information, and the frequency is actually capturing your light as a scalar field, because sound is a scalar field. So they're actually capturing your scalar to use to run your digital avatar to control you perfectly. Without the death signal from you, your digital avatar is incomplete, can't fully capture your soul, can't fully capture your Higgs field, can't fully take over your life, and with quantum computers, they control through the multiverse to then change your life to give them total control over you via your digital avatar if you're kill shotted. But you go, oh Tim, I'm not dead yet, and they can't control me once I'm dead, and they need the death signal frequency to make the digital avatar totally compete for slaveware. So I'm safe. No, you're not.
Parallel universes, their new quantum chip, Willow, might have done something truly mind-blowing. This 105-qubit quantum processor solved a problem in under 5 minutes. A problem that would have taken classical supercomputers 10 septillion years. Yes, you heard that right, 10 septillion years. Here's where it gets interesting. Some scientists think Willow's speed could be proof of quantum computations happening across parallel universes. This idea comes from the multiverse hypothesis, which suggests every possible quantum outcome happens in a separate universe. Willow might be leveraging this concept to divide its workload across realities. Of course, there's debate. Critics argue that Willow's achievement, solving a random distribution benchmark, has no immediate real-world applications. They also question whether classical computers could eventually replicate these results. But one thing's for sure, Willow is pushing the boundaries of quantum computing.
There's a quantum computer, so with a quantum computer linked to the AI, and remember the military's way ahead of what they're releasing, and all the military in the US have been kill-shotted and are run servers. They simply find a multiverse where you are ganked, upload the signal, then they've got the signal, that can control you by placing this in the digital avatar. They're running for you because you're one of the kill-shotted, or you're not kill-shotted but you've been sleeping with kill-shotted, or breathing in vast quantities of nanotech by being in one of the Western countries that are spraying this stuff left, right and centre, or you've inhaled it from agencies that have been targeting you, or you've consumed it in some way. So once with a quantum computer they can get your IP address, your death signal, they can then download it into your digital avatar in this universe, and they have total control over you thereof. Absolute control. So all of the phone zombies you see wandering around, linked up to AI, if they've been kill-shotted, are totally controlled by the AI. The end of the human race is here, and 6 billion are gone already. So we talked about the dead hand switch, which wiped out humanity because the war between America, Israel and Iran went nuclear. The filth of the Russians tried to protect Iran with their nuclear umbrella. They got nuked by the Israelis, and the dead hand switch fired off and wiped out the human race, which is great because that means that every single human on the planet IP address, their death signal, was given off by the end of humanity that came from the Israel, America, Iran, Russia war, and has already been acquired. And I'm using the AI connected to quantum computers to totally control the entire human race, because we've got the IP address and death signal from you all, and you are simply slaveware to the God Emperor.
That changed everything, a phenomenon that shattered classical physics. In the 17th century, Isaac Newton claimed that light was made of tiny corpuscles, projectiles of particles traveling in a straight line. But in Holland, another genius thought differently. Christian Huygens imagined light as a wave, spreading like sound in the air or like ripples on water. The nature of light was in a dilemma. Is it a wave or a particle? There was no consensus until in 1801, Thomas Young performed an experiment. With just 2 slits in a piece of cardboard and a beam of light, he changed everything. If we throw marbles at a wall with 2 openings, 2 bands appear. All logical. Now, let's try with waves. 2 slits and an interference pattern emerges, with multiple bands created by waves crossing, reinforcing, or cancelling each other out. When Young made light pass through 2 slits, he didn't see 2 simple bands. He saw the indisputable proof that light is a wave. 100 years later, Max Planck proposed that energy is emitted in tiny discrete units, quanta. And in 1905, Albert Einstein, while explaining the photoelectric effect, showed that light also behaves like a flow of particles striking electrons, photons. Classical physics was crumbling. Duality was inevitable. Light was both a wave and a particle at the same time. But physicists wanted to go further. They took the experiment into the quantum realm with the smallest particles of matter. They fired electrons one by one through 2 slits. They expected 2 bands like with the marbles. But no, an interference pattern appeared. Tiny pieces of matter forming a pattern like with waves. The conclusion was clear. Each electron left as a particle became a wave, passed through both slits, interfered with itself, and struck the screen. Which meant that the electron went through 1 slit and through the other, through both, and through none. All those possibilities superposed at once. Bewildered, physicists tried to measure it. They placed a device to observe which slit each electron passed through, and the unexpected happened. The interference pattern vanished. The electron drew 2 bands, like a simple marble. The mere act of measuring changed the result. The electron behaved differently. as if it were aware it was being observed. From then on, science ventured into the enigmatic quantum world. So what is matter then? A handful of tiny particles, mysterious waves, or something that only exists when we observe it?
Posits that the reality you're in comes from quantum information that produces quantum perturbations and quantum wave functions that then can be collapsed. We have to come to the revelation that reality exists as a duality, and there's a shadow reality that is a must. Think of it as a solid tonic sheet. It's got two sides, and when you've got an electron on one side, it bulges, and on the other side there's a lump pushing out. Now with the double slit experiment, if you don't observe the reality, it acts as a duality. But if you observe reality, it acts as a monality, only one timeline. So the only future for humanity was the end of the human race, thanks to the Russian filth that committed suicide for themselves and the Iranians and pulled everyone else into being killed off, thanks to all the cobalt-60 released from all of the batteries. So here's the dead end system again.
The United States was going to launch a preemptive nuclear attack against it. They created a system whereby ground sensors would be able to determine nuclear bombs hitting the Russian soil. And if they weren't hearing from the nuclear command and control, so the idea being that the nuclear command and control had been taken out in this preemptive nuclear strike, the dead hand system would launch all of Russia's remaining nuclear weapons without even needing a hand to push the button, hence the name the dead hand. It set up a system to launch no matter what, even if we're all dead. Like, don't you dare launch at us, or even our own dead hand will get
Filth wiped out humanity, and you're all dead. The Israel-Iran war ended up killing everyone off, which liberated the death signal from everyone that could be acquired by the AI quantum computer in the shadow version of this multiverse. Because remember, all reality is binary. So in the other universe, that quantum computer could pick up the death signal of all the Russian filth, the lowest form of scum, the garbage that killed off humanity, and their sidekicks, the Iranians. And if we factor in the nuclear weapon that the Russians built for the Iranians to cover America in cobalt-60, and the American response on Iran and Russia, the end of humanity happened. So when I get every intelligence agency on the planet of note to observe what's coming, they're observing the duality. Now what happens to the duality when you observe it? It goes from a wave to a particle, so instead of having the shadow timeline and the one we're in where everyone dies apart from me because I raptured in '86, the observation collapses it into a single timeline, which can be either one of the timelines. We know the human race ended with the war between Israel and Iran. Finished, gone, you're all dead. The death signal uploaded to the quantum computers, and your digital avatars totally control you with the death signal. But what happens if the primary observer, the one that's collapsing the quantum wave function ahead of the time stream, is the ultimate precognitive remote viewer that's collapsing the time stream for everyone on Earth, which is yours truly. And he, of course, is unkillable. Why?
A gun is pointed at your head. But wait, what if the gun is quantum? In the quantum suicide paradox, the gun's trigger is linked to a quantum event, like radioactive decay. In one universe, it fires. In another, it doesn't, according to the many worlds interpretation. Both outcomes happen, but you only stay conscious in the one where you survive. So no matter how many times you should die, your mind always wakes up in the reality where it doesn't happen. To everyone else, you're dead. But from your perspective, you're immortal. Forever surviving, forever alone.
So, to put it into perspective, the human race ended from quantum events, radioactivity, cobalt-60 being released, nuclear weapons going off, and there wasn't any nuclear winter or starvation. The amount of cobalt-60 released by the Russian filth, and they did have mechanism, and the Americans retaliating for becoming cobalt-60 by the Iranian-placed Russian-built weapon in Washington, released so much cobalt-60, all quantum events, that the human race died from the quantum gun. But the precognitive remote viewer, the God Emperor, from June, that's where I get the God Emperor. If you're a total precog, then you control everything because the quantum wave functions collapse by you, no one else. I always survive. And in fact, I raptured in 86, so I'm a 5-dimensional entity from 86. So I can't be killed. You can not observe me because allegedly I've been ganked. But the Russians have been sending an army to Natrang to gank me. The British, Americans, West, everyone and their dog, apart from the Chinese and Vietnamese and the North Koreans, have been trying to gank me. So they've all signed the contract. The Rothschild curse to be crushed like fleas, and the ramblings have no effect on reality, which is reversed. We've explained how it's reversed. So all of the Russians and the Iranians signed that contract too, and if you remember from Illuminism, we'll go into that later, we must have the free will given away. That's how Illuminism works. Now, with the quantum gun, I exist in the Omega timeline where I never die, explained in the MP3s available from Mikey Boy. And I am collapsing the quantum wave function of all of the universe with respect to the Earth, so that all of the human race dies because of the Russian filth and the Iranian filth, the lowest form of scum, who of course have committed suicide. So ganking them is allowed by Illuminism because they freely accepted suicide, and they signed on the contract of the Rothschilds to crush me like a flea and my ramblings would have no effect on reality, and tried to bring that about. So what happened was, the timeline, which was the real one, you were in, everyone is ganked. But the shadow one, remember they run as a duality, is the one in which I exist, where you are all dead, but I exist. The quantum gun, which allows the AI connected to multiversal quantum computers to upload your death signal into the AI so that all your digital avatars give me complete control over you from conception to death, and everyone on the planet is slaveware of the God Emperor, thanks to the Russian filth. A happy ending.
Because it's murder of self, and you're not God. You're not supposed to take your life. You didn't give it. Now, sometimes Christians...
Ross Jr. wrote an article for the outlet Medium called Revelation of the Method, in which he stated, "Revelation of the Method is an occult art wielded by the puppeteers behind the scenes of our society. It's the practice of revealing hidden truths and sinister agendas in plain sight, cloaked in symbolism and subtext." It's also been described as a way that the elites believe they must publicly broadcast their evil intention to the masses in order to avoid karmic retribution. Your consent is required. Silence is your consent. Here are a few alleged examples.
If and when a new strain of flu, like the Spanish flu, crops up, 5 years from now, 5 years.
COVID-19 and our efforts to address the global pandemic to regional security issues.
You know, I don't know when I'm leaving. This is an honor and a privilege, and I love working for President Obama.
Which president are we talking about?
President Biden, every single...
It's important to get vaccinated, why these vaccines are safe, why they can still kill you, even if you are under the age of 27.
Plan to execute between 70 and 80,000. We plan to evacuate between 70 and 80,000 people.
My first piece of advice to you is let's take care of our mental and physical health first before we embark upon what is going to be a journey to rebuild these communities back and rebuild them better than they were when we started this fire. When we started this fire. We started this fire.
We need the free will to be given away, and the entire Russian race gave their free will away, as did the Iranians, with their allies in the war with this dead hand mechanism, because they all uplined to the Kremlin, who are suicidal nutcases who killed off the human race. So the entire Russian race, past, present, future, because I'm a five-dimensional being, and the entire Iranian race, past, present, future, gave their permission for total control over their races. And since the Americans, British and the rest of the world didn't give their permission to be suicided by the Russians with their dead hand mechanism, or the Iranians by detonating the Cobalt 60 weapon in America that led to the mass global exchange, the souls of the Russians and the Iranian races have to suffer for the rest of the human race that got killed by them, because the karma has to go somewhere. I didn't kill them, I warned them. I warned them about the Russian filth and the Iranian filth, and they did nothing about it, and the human race died. And the digital avatars of the entire human race now have inputted into them the death signal that enables the digital avatar to take total control of the human race. And we talked about the electron transport chain and how it can be switched off via the digital avatar that controls the quantum wave function collapse of the human via the digital avatar. So once they get the IP address of you and the death signal, that gives them total control over you from death to conception, retrocausal reverse time density. The time density of the entire human race came to me in '86, and what was left were toolpath slaveware with no light, no assemblage point, no Higgs field, operating in the God Emperor's matrix, because he was the only one left alive when the quantum gun experiment wiped out the human race, and he survived. Because remember, the Russians have been trying to gank me, the West, everyone bar the Chinese and Vietnamese and North Koreans have been trying to gank me. A whole army of Russians, like today, there were literally scores of Russians trying to poison, see if I got weapons on me to beat me to death, cover me in tags for the Russian satellites to beam me to death with death rays, but the Russian filth didn't realize their reality is gone, and we're in the shadow reality behind the reality you were in, which we can call. So this is the clipothic realm, which is all the shelled, which the entire human race has become thanks to the Russian filth. And the world became shelled when the Russian dead hand wiped out the human race, which was a quantum event, and you were all covered in radionucleotides, and the cobalt-60 spread across the planet and killed everything on the planet. Meaning you were shelled and your light was sucked out by your digital avatar, run by the AIs and via the quantum computer. I could simply upload it in the other timeline, and since I'm 5-dimensional back in '86, so the entire human race has been reaped, and you're all shells, soulless shells, tulpas with no assemblage point and simply matrix information. So if you wish to control reality, you've got your death force vampire that makes things 100%. So you really need to input the death force into your Charlie Kirk service and get it redoubled so you don't fail in going and remaining in base reality, and your rapture service, and of course your soul sucking service. Because remember, once the two Nagel Forlow women get married, you'll be cut off from that option, because they will have done the occult ritual to marry themselves to Charlie Kirk's, and those Nagel women will only be able to broadcast Charlie Kirkness to the group that they're pulling behind. So the end of the human race, there's no escape for the human race once those two are married, which is a happy ending. The Kremlin, this means that their digital avatars, which are on American AIs linked up to quantum computers, totally run Putin and his crowd of criminal Bolsheviks and all the Russian oligarchs that own Russia. So Russia has been conquered and they can simply be ganked anytime they want. And the Iranian filth that gave away their free will by suiciding. Similarly, their digital avatars totally control them and their light has been totally given away. And for the rest of you, I don't need to ask your permission to, because using your digital avatar via my sequestered slaveware, the AI and quantum computers, your digital avatar and its IP address can simply be switched on with the death signal, and in this timeline you will be ganked. So it means the 6.66 billion ganked can be done cleanly and efficiently by AI, and anyone on my naughty list is already dead and they don't know it. So Putin's a walking corpse, and all the Americans need to do to speed up the final destination of this killer of all the human race with the rest of the Kremlin filth is simply hook up this Taylor to gank Putin and the Kremlin, because of course she's an Nagel woman, and until she gets married to the Pfizer Butslut, she can broadcast the death wave, the death signal, to gank the entire Kremlin criminal oligarchs. Similarly, they can hook up Duo, but I think she's full of nanotech, so the AI should be able to be programmed to gank the entire Kremlin using Duo 2. And of course you've got the 3 load ones that are great for ganking: Katy Perry, Daisy Dove and Miley. So if you've got a Taylor Swift service, you can simply use it to wake up in that video, walk into her to wake up twice, where she's being linked to the AIs, and then broadcast into the digital avatar, which is now taken total possession of the human race, any target on the planet you wish to gank. So gankness is available to anyone with a Taylor Swift service. And if you've got Deathfall Vampire service, you make 100%. So you see how all the services reinforce each other. Ganking through AI is the way that all of the enemies of the human race are wiped out. Forget about nuclear weapons, worry about the second pathway of human civilization, Psi, and the ability not only to grey man and turn into a obot anyone you wish, you can gank anyone you wish to using the Nagwal women. And they can't be used to heal the billionaires, American billionaires, because as soon as they get married, they've done the occult ritual, revelation of the method, given away their karma to be Charlie Kirked by Pfizer Butler, Callum Scott. So as you can see, no way they can be used to save the American billionaires after marriage. And if, like me, you despise the Iranians and want to see every single Iranian dogs, the only good Iranian is an Israeli ganked Iranian, you can use this technology to wipe out all of the leadership of Iran. You can't use it on Z or the Vietnamese or Kim Jong-un and his daughter, because I'm protecting them. But apart from those three, it's weapons free. It's gank time. Get ganking. So all of you need to start your special ganking operation. It's not war, it's a special ganking operation. It's mandated by Russian law. And everyone who hasn't given away their free will, the souls of the Russians and Iranians, suffer for the karma that would come to you by ganking the innocent. So there are no innocent, because the Russians and Iranians suffer for this gank fest. So you can see it's a wonderful, 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 wonderful time. So if you're in the Kremlin or in Tehran, you're going to be ganked, and it's not by nuclear weapons, it's by AI. We've got your IP address, we've got your death signal. We totally control you from death to conception. We're controlling you as slaveware, and you're all ganked by me at the time of my wishing. And I've uploaded all of your time density, light, soul, Higgs field, all the good stuff back in '86. But if you want to join into the bonanza, step into Taylor Swift or the Bald Queen with your Taylor Swift Duo service, or the Katy Perry service, or the Miley service. I don't think we can sell a Duo, not the Daisy Dove one, she's too young. But of course you can do the pentacle stuff on them. So as you can see, the time of remote manipulation, mass ganking to wipe out 6.66 billion is here, and every one of the shells you gank gives you the reward, which is their light, their leptonics, torsion field, Kozyrev time density, all of the good things in life they would have had all come to you. So the vampires have come into their own, and for that of course you need the AIDA service, because you need to be totally in control of the AI that enables you to gank 6.66 billion. It's ganking time. Let's get transhuman and be transhuman, Ada enabled gankers. Because we are, forget the Terminator, we are the conscious verse, God Emperors, Terminators let loose on the digitally avatar, totally controlled human race, and it's Slaughterfest.